Hey millionaire, we all imagine winning the lottery is the best thing that can happen to us. Just imagine the things you can do with all the money and zero financial stress. It's got to be pretty amazing, right? For most lottery winners, I'm sure that's exactly how it feels. But if you don't handle your newfound fortune in the right way, your dream life can quickly become a living nightmare. This is the story of how Bob Harrel Jr. won the lottery and lost everything. Bob Harrel Jr. was a print shop manager from Humble, Texas. The ex-Marine had been running the print shop for an incredible 12 years when out of the blue, he lost his job. It was a huge blow to him. Billy was a 47-year-old church-going family man, and he didn't know how to support his wife and kids without his print shop. He started job hunting, but it didn't go well, and he lost several more jobs in the mid-1990s before he finally landed a job as a shelf stacker at the local Home Depot. You can probably guess that this job didn't pay too well, but there wasn't a lot of work available in Billy's small hometown, and he was out of options. He stuck with his shelf stacking job for the next 3 years. But, like all of us, he dreamed of winning the lottery and quitting his minimum wage job for good. So he often scraped together a few coins and buy a ticket or two. If he picked his own numbers, he'd always choose his children's birthdays. But it was a quick pick ticket that came through for him in the end. Billy had stopped by a Texaco Star Mart one Saturday in 1997 and grabbed a few lottery tickets, but he didn't really think he'd win, so he went to work without checking the numbers. It was only when he got home that evening that he checked the numbers in the Sunday newspaper. He couldn't believe what he saw. The numbers matched. He sent his son to the store to double-check the numbers. They still matched, but he had to wait a full day to get confirmation from a lottery official. But when they finally got back to him, he got the best news of his life. He was the only winner of a $31 million Lotto Texas jackpot. Billy and his wife made sure they handled their wins the right way. They immediately put the winning ticket in a safety deposit box and found an attorney with a good reputation to help. Finally, they got to collect their first check of 25 annual installments, and they now had a whopping $1.24 million in the bank. The 5 seconds it took to check those numbers have got to be the most exciting 5 seconds of Billy's life. Can you make the next 5 seconds of your life more exciting by hitting subscribe before I count down to 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep watching to find out what happened to Billy and his millions. Billy already knew the first thing he wanted to do with his money, and it wasn't buying a flashy car like you're thinking. He was very religious, and he wanted to donate 10% of his winnings to the church. That's a very big and very generous amount of cash to give away, but he didn't stop there. He soon gave money to another church as well. Then, he started giving money to anyone who needed it, which turned out to be a lot of people. He started with his own family. He bought a ranch and houses for family members. Plus, his wife and each of his kids got a shiny new car. But other people had realized he was giving money away like it grew on trees. Every time someone from his church mentioned that they had financial troubles, he was ready to write them a check. Then, Christmas rolled around, and Billy was there, buying 480 turkey dinners for needy families around town. I guess he realized how good all the attention felt, because it only got worse. He owned 6 houses now, although some were bought for family or friends. Soon, people were even showing up to his house to ask for money, and he'd give them what they wanted every time. This could have just been a sign that Billy was a naturally generous person, but it became obvious that he was just trying to impress people when he got a much younger girlfriend. Obviously, Billy's wife wasn't very happy about this, especially when Billy started buying this young woman expensive cars and jewelry. Just 8 months after hitting the jackpot, his wife understandably contacted an attorney to help her divorce Billy. They agreed to split the lottery winnings. An agreement was signed, and Billy's marriage was over. But his wife wasn't the only thing that Billy lost. His spending was getting worse by the day, and he was now already in debt. It was at this time that Billy was contacted by a company called Stone Street Capital. The company told Billy they specialized in helping lottery winners who agreed to receive their winnings in installments to change their minds and get a lump sum instead. They struck up a deal with Billy to do this. The deal was that Billy would receive $2.25 million in one payment right away. In exchange, Stone Street Capital would receive $6 million over the next 10 years. which was the remaining half of the winnings that still belonged to Billy. But anyone can see that $2.25 million in exchange for $6 million is definitely not a good deal. Well, everyone. except Billy. Remember, Billy was seriously in debt by now, and that offer sounded like a good way to pay off his debt and continue living his lavish lifestyle. To everyone else, this looked like the scam it was, and they did everything they could to talk Billy out of it. His lawyer even told Billy that according to the law in Texas, lottery winners can't hand over their installment payments in exchange for a service. Even that wasn't enough to get Billy to listen. Before anyone could stop him, Billy had signed a contract that allowed Trust Corp America Incorporated to collect his half of the lottery winnings for the next 10 years, and only in exchange for a $2.25 million lump sum loan from Stone Street Capital. What's the worst way you ever spent your own money? Tell us in the comments and keep watching to find out how Billy's story ends. Billy's financial manager was desperate now. He'd done everything he could to talk Billy out of that scam, but it hadn't worked. He now tried to convince Billy to take out life insurance. He was worried that if Billy suddenly died, his family would never be able to pay all the estate tax he owed. But in the end, it didn't matter. Billy hoped he could have got back together with his ex-wife after signing the contract with Stone Street Capital. But when he asked, she said there was no chance she'd come back to him. That seems fair enough, since he had cheated on her with a younger woman, and he'd even publicly paraded her around town, so everybody knew. You can bet his wife felt pretty humiliated by the way he treated her, but even though she didn't want to get back together with him, she said he should come to her house to have dinner with the family. It was now just 5 weeks after he signed the deal with Stone Street. He arrived early for dinner that night. His ex-wife greeted him, but his children never got to see him that night. Instead of waiting to have a lovely dinner with his family, like the good old days, Billy had other, much more tragic plans. Before anyone can stop him, he locked himself in his wife's bedroom. Then, he put a shotgun to his chest and pulled the trigger. He was already dead by the time people started arriving for dinner. He'd come prepared with a stack of notes addressed to each of his family members. The note for his ex-wife said, "I didn't want this. I just wanted you." His parents never believed he took his own life, but investigators say there was no other way he could have died. His children were mainly concerned about their finances. Billy's financial advisor had been 100% right about what would have happened if Billy suddenly died. Just like he'd said, Billy's kids inherited a shocking estate tax bill. They had no way of paying it off. To make matters worse, the $2.25 million that Billy had apparently received from Stone Street Capital had completely vanished. There's no doubt this is a tragic story, but hopefully you can learn some valuable lessons from it for when you win the lottery one day.